You are now tuned in to Catch the Vibe live with Brown Eyes.
Catch the vibe, let's get it, yo. Catch the vibe, let's go. Catch the vibe, let's get it, yo. Catch the vibe, let's go. Catch the vibe, let's get it, yo. Catch the vibe, let's go. Come on in and let's talk about it.
All right. Welcome to Catch the Vibe with me, your host, Brown Eyes. And I just want to say this is our first Catch the Vibe online show, and we got an exciting and wonderful and powerful show for you today. And I want to bring on my special guest for today before I even start, Mr. Mike Jones, the author, director and producer of a great movie that's about to hit our airwaves called Never Again. Welcome to the show, Michael. I just want to give you a round of applause because I'm just so honored for you being here, on the scene. So thank you so much. But first of all, before we start, I just want to say Catch the Vibe with Brown Eyes is a spin-off show from our community of Vibes with Brown Eyes, and it's basically a project that's designated to reach the depths of the community and to shine light on those who are often overlooked. People like leaders, nonprofit organizations, musicians, performing artists, visual artists, young people just like you and me who decided to take their gifts and their talent and to be of a positive change in the environment for people, and so we just want to have our conversations with people and come together with them to shed light on the great things that are being done from people right here in our communities, and that's all over the globe because we got Mike here from Georgia. I'm here in New Jersey, which goes to show that communities can connect on great things. So Mike, we're going to be talking today about the slave syndrome, and does it still affect us in our communities today, which we know that it has a powerful effect for centuries on. So I just want to introduce you. Tell us a little bit about who you are, so the people can know who I'm talking to.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you, and I'm humbled to be here today. Like I said, my name is Michael Jones. I got a couple hats. I was a college professor. I teach fifth grade now. I'm an author, written a book, $1 at a time, which is about economic empowerment in the Black community.
Yes.
And it's a book into my first stage play called Never Again, which we started in Augusta in 2002 and sold out my very first show. And we toured from 2002 to 2004 throughout the Southeast, Georgia, South Carolina, and Alabama cities. And then I wrote 40 Acres, Who Stole the Mule, which was the second play. And that was real fun to do. That was based on a family finally getting 40 acres and a mule, and they're fighting over the mule. Everyone's trying to sell it, steal it, and you see how material things can break up a family, and the grandmother's trying to keep her family together. And that led me in that tour from 2006 to 2009. And my third play was called When God Calls, Will You Answer?, which is based on finding your calling in life. And we toured from 2011 into 2018, more Georgia, South Carolina cities. And that led us up to creating a 10-city tour for 2020. And you know what happened in 2020?
Oh, yeah. COVID, the pandemic that shut everybody down.
Yeah, so the entertainment industry was kind of shuttered for a while. So I decided to, since now we're in a Black History Me Too movement, a lot of issues are coming to light within the Black community and a lot of more self-awareness about it. So I decided to bring Never Again back as an online streaming movie 20 years later. It started in 2002. Now we're launching an online streaming movie of Never Again in 2022. So
great. I'm looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that. And and because of that, we have some of the actors. I'm really excited about that. Like, I get the director and I get the actors too. Boy, I tell you, this show is hot today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the actors on, the ones that could make it today. And I want to, let them introduce themselves to everyone so that we could get to know who they are, before we get started with the show. So we're going to start with Varian. Just say your name, where you're from, and the role that you play in this wonderful movie.
Hey, I'm Varian Hunter. I reside here in Augusta, Georgia. I played several actors in the movie. One of the main characters I play is Jacob.
Jacob. Okay. Several characters. I like that. You
Hey,
got some
Jacob.
talent in the house. Okay, let's go with Dorian.
Hi, my name is Dorian James. I am originally from Detroit,
Okay,
and I
Detroit. Shout
just
out to Detroit.
and I play the character of Mrs. Peterson. She's
Okay.
an overprotective mother, and she's afraid that her son, her teenage son, is going to go out into the streets, and he's not a street person, so she just
Right.
pray for him, and it's good. It's a pretty
Okay,
good
well, that
movie.
sounds like a lot of mothers today in my neighborhood and a lot of neighborhoods out here, what we got to worry about in today's time. So that's a powerful role that you have to play there. All right. Well, thank you for joining us on the show today. And now we're going to go to Farlisha. Can you hear me, Farlisha? Your mom. Okay, there you go.
Yes, I can hear you. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Happy to have you.
That's good. Thank you. Well, my name is Felicia Jimerson Brown, and I play the grandmother of my grandson, Jonathan. And I'm informing him about everything that happens from the beginning of slavery all the way to the Black Lives Movement. And we had a very exciting time, and the cast got together and did a wonderful job. Everybody clicked together and united like a family, and we just had fun with it. And as I'm teaching him, he's kind of rebelling a little bit. But after I broke everything down to him and showed him where to find his information and stuff from, he came to grasp what I was talking about and started noticing certain things that was happening around him that,
Right.
pointed towards how we were being conditioned. So it's a very good learning experience, and I wish everybody stream it and learn something because there's a lot to learn from it.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because everybody know that grandmama's roles play a big role in a lot of children's lives. I was
Right.
unfortunate.
Yes,
I didn't know my grandparents growing up. They were all deceased, so I never had a grandparent in my life. But I see how important. I am a grandmother now. And my mom
yes,
was a grandmother, and I saw the importance of the things that I missed out on not having grandparents. So grandparents are very
right,
important and very powerful people to learn from, to grow
That's
from,
right.
and to continue on in our future. But I want to talk about, before we go into the movie specifics, I want to talk about Juneteenth. A lot of people don't know what Juneteenth is about. You know, um, and basically, in a nutshell, I'm sure Mike got his story that he's going to tell me. After I tell my little what I know about it. Juneteenth, actually started on June 19th, 1865, and it happened
right,
because the president Lincoln, he announced the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 that the slaves were
right,
free.
62.
62. Oh, it was 62. Okay. Well, correct me, Mike. That's what I'm talking about. I'm learning too. Okay. But he made this announcement that the black people were free. They were no longer slaves in America. But somehow that message didn't get down to Texas and other, Confederate states until the
right,
general, what his name, Gordon Granger, he visited Texas and he looked around knowing that slaves were, free, or black people were free from slavery, and realized that they were still enslaved in there. And he had to make an announcement and say, "Hey guys, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but you are free now. You're free. You don't have to be slaves anymore. I don't, it's been put out there by the president, and you can go free now." So you can imagine how they must have felt what do we do? Or some people went to go found their family. Some people fled up north. Some people, it probably was a mass celebration and pandemonium in the environment. So I'm gonna let Mike take over and tell me his version,
Okay.
because he's the movie man, did the research, the professor. Let me leave that over to you to talk
Well,
about.
we forgot to mention Dorian down.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Dorian. Where's Dorian? Okay, Dorian.
Very.
Dorian. No,
I
Dorian
thought
already. She went. She spoke already, Mike. You missed it.
Okay.
can I add something in right quick?
Yes, yes, yes.
I hope this is the right time to mention this, but I am doing my stage play debut the weekend of Mother's Day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Atlanta.
Okay, well,
Great.
we're gonna
So
talk about that a little. We're gonna talk about that before we leave this show, because I'm gonna ask you
Okay.
guys, what are you doing now? What is your future? What do you have coming up? So we'll talk
Okay.
about that a little later, and I'm excited about that. I wish I was still in Atlanta. I moved back up north, but I still love my Georgia folk. And come on, Mike, let's continue to talk about this
Okay.
Juneteenth, and so we can educate the people.
Okay. Well, like I said, I wasn't back in that day. I've researched a lot of the information about Juneteenth,
Mm-hmm.
and basically it encompasses two things: 40 acres and a mule and Juneteenth are kind of combined, because in 1862 Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation primarily to end the war. It was
Mm-hmm.
because the North was beating the South. That
Right.
was the reason to keep the Union together. But the North had stipulations that you need to include, for the South to get rid of slavery in order for us to really ratify this into law.
Right.
So that was the reason. It basically, it was to save the United States. So
Right.
Lincoln signed it into law in 1862. And
Mm-hmm.
fast forward, many of the southern states, and it was a piece of paper that was very extensive to read, so none of the slaves could read it or know anything about it. And the
Right.
slave owners kept the slaves working. They knew they were supposed to be free, but they kept them working to make more money from cotton, from gin, from soy, and all kinds of things that they were making. Two
Right.
and a half years later, roll back to 1865, the Union Army started looking around and saying, well, you know what? We've been riding around down south and they're still working on the plantations. These white slave owners aren't telling the slaves they're free. So we need to do something about it. So they were
Right.
like, okay, let's get on horseback and let's ride into every plantation in the South physically and gather all the slaves around personally. Because slave owners are not going to tell them.
Right.
We need to tell them. So they went into every plantation, and the last one was Galveston, Texas,
Right.
and gathered all the slaves around and said, slaves, come here. Okay, you all are free. And the slaves were, what? Who said we're free? Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation of free you in 1862,
Right.
2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they became free. And in the movie, I don't want to give out the spoiler, but we have a part in the movie about that. And it
Right.
explains, and Grandma explains this whole process.
Right.
But then General Sherman in Charleston, South Carolina, had an idea. Okay, the slaves are free. They need something, reparations. We can't give them money because, of course, they can't go to stores and shops. So let's give them 40 acres of land and one mule. And the 40 acres of land was probably the worst land, swamp land you could think of. But that was the goal. So, hey, so people were like, okay, Charleston, South Carolina is good, but what about the rest of the South? What
Right.
about all the other folks? They get their 40 acres too.
Right.
So they said, okay, Lincoln, write it up. I mean, General Sherman, write it up and send it to Lincoln. Since he's a nice guy, he freed
Mm-hmm.
all the slaves. So maybe he will sign it into law and give everyone from
Right.
Tennessee to South Carolina to North Carolina to all in Georgia, all of the slaves give their 40 acres of mule also.
Right.
So they wrote it up. And of course, we didn't have email back in that day. So horseback took a long time from Charleston to DC.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple of white folks got in front of that horse and got to DC first. and gathered all the folks around and said, you know what? They got some paper coming here that's going to sign, and they're going to give all the 40 acres of land in all of the states in the South to the free slaves. We can't have that because Lincoln might sign it into law, just like he signed the other paper to free the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And they got together and got a little plan. John Wilkes Booth and, all other folks got together and they said, well, you know what? Let's get Lincoln. We need to kill Lincoln. So, of course, Lincoln was giving a ballroom speech.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what happened. Lincoln got assassinated
Right.
because they knew that he would have probably signed it into law like he did the other thing, this free the slaves. So
Right.
Lincoln is dead. Andrew Johnson, vice president, becomes president. Andrew Johnson vetoed it. It was dead. It ain't going to happen. So it's been floating around the administration all many years. It's like a hot potato. No one is ever going to pick it up. And now it's kind of far away from the descendant of slaves. So reparations have been talked about for years and years. But now it's kind of like, how do you trace the descendant of the slave? And I know there's some states now thinking about bringing it back up. So it's coming around now to administration.
Well, you're absolutely right about that, because I know that I've heard a lot, especially in California, is leading the way because they got a bill that has just got a notoriety where a lot of people are rallying around it for reparations, and they found a way to ID the people who are, descendants of, slaves, and they can go simply by using the registry, the government registry, and your grandparents and who you're connected to that been here since the 1700s. It's not hard to trace the people who are connected to the descendants of slaves. So that you're right, it is becoming, more popular, with the politicians and the government recognizing that this is a need and it needs to be done.
But the problem is, if we lose the White House, I mean the Senate and the House of Representatives in November, it's gonna be dead.
It's going to be another fight uphill, kick back down.
And Trump's trying to push other folks into. So but it's coming around. But like I said, that's how Lincoln got assassinated. Andrew Johnson vetoed it. It was dead, and we never got the 40 acres and a mule.
Right. And this is what is equivalent to what people are saying today. We still want our reparations. So this is what Juneteenth and the whole story, about what we celebrate. Juneteenth is a celebration of freedom and emancipation. And I don't see any person, white, black, or whoever you are, not wanting to celebrate Juneteenth, a jubilee of emancipation for a people that were oppressed. If you don't want to celebrate it, then you're not for freedom. You're not for liberty for all. Because and it's not, about the negative aspect, not just about the negative aspect about it, but it's a symbol of freedom, equality for everyone. So everyone should be celebrating, that black people are happy that they got that measure of freedom during that time for Juneteenth.
Yeah, and we break down Juneteenth in the movie. There's a scene in it where the slaves actually decide, and a lot of people don't know what day Juneteenth is, but I'll go on and tell that, give a little small spoiler. They on that day when the Union Army came into Galveston, the slaves got around and they were like, well, okay, what day is it? They couldn't read, they didn't know what day, but they knew by the sun, by the time of year, that it was June, in the middle of the year. So they said, okay, June, what day? June 13th, 14th, 15th. They didn't know, but someone said, okay, let's call it Juneteenth, which covers all of the middle of the month, the 11th, the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th is when we celebrate, because that's the last day of the 10th. 20th is not a 10th. So the June 19th is effectively the day of celebration. All over the United States, they're having Juneteenth celebrations now, which is because it's been turned into a national holiday.
Yes.
A lot of people will be celebrating. fried chicken, barbecue, and don't have a clue
Don't
of
have a
what
clue.
Juneteenth is. They just want to come out and eat some fried chicken, which is
Yes.
good. I mean, I like fried chicken too, but we still
Fried
need to
chicken, all kinds
know.
of stuff.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the celebrations also tell about what Juneteenth was about, and
Yes.
not just, we celebrate and we're having a good time, we listen to some
Right.
music and we going home. And that's
Right.
where the movie launches on Juneteenth.
Right.
So after you go eat your fried chicken and you get full, you go home, you can log in to Vimeo and Black House Channel, or go to our YouTube channel,
Right.
$1 at a time productions, and you
Yes.
can get in and find out where on your TV, your laptop, your cell phone, your computer, where you can log in and watch and
Yes.
learn more about Juneteenth and all of the other things that our power lies in knowing who we are.
And speaking of that, I just want to say not only do we eat fried chicken, but we have macaroni and cheese and collard
Oh
greens.
yeah,
And a lot of people don't know the history of food, that the
yeah,
influence that
Right.
African American and African food has had on the whole entire world. Like, I
oh
mean,
yeah.
they ate red foods like strawberries and red velvet cake to represent the blood of the people. Like, people don't know they enjoy these delicious delicacies, but don't realize that those foods are connected to our struggle and the things that we have gone to. So I'm going to show the trailer of the movie right now that we have set up what Juneteenth is and all
Okay,
what you did to bring this movie into fusion. So I'm going to show the trailer now so people can get a bird's eye view of what great presentation you have for Juneteenth. So here we
thank
are
you.
with the trailer.
They want us to read this stuff about history. And I remember you telling me that we once kings and queens, but they don't mention anything about that in our history book.
Yeah, baby, see, I know. See, because that's our job to finish educating our children and filling in the gaps. Well, let me tell you a story about your great-great-great-great-grandfather, Slave Jacob, and your great-great-great-great-grandmother, Slave Mary.
What's your name? Master said my name be Mary.
I be Mandingo warrior.
No, you gonna find yourself with a sucker.
They didn't mention that there was another strong brother out there around that time by the name of Brother Malcolm X. And on the day that he died, it had a profound effect upon our black folk. See, that's one of the reasons why it's important for us to break down this mental condition of slavery. Because if we knew what we went through back then, we would never again allow it to be repeated. We can't allow this stuff to break us. See, it just makes me sick when I see our people hating each other over nonsense, looking like some crabs in a barrel. And this light-skinned, dark-skinned mess is just ridiculous.
No one told you to stand in my way. You just wished you had hair like this.
That's okay. I didn't want to join your wannabe sorority anyway.
Child, I remember this story about your uncle's son, Samuel. Samuel? Who's that? I thought his name was G Money. Now, boy, you know good and darn well that boy ain't got no money. It should have been G Broke.
Word, that's what's up. And boy, put those pants up.
Don't touch me.
Where your belt at?
I don't need no belt.
No, not
Pops,
today,
why you
not
always be
today.
tripping?
Stop it.
Ah! Well, you don't know.
Hey,
Oh,
no,
no,
calm down. No, calm down.
No.
How do you know so much, Grandma?
Well, see, my mother felt as though it was very important for our black community to never forget, just as well as the Jewish community to never forget. So she made me study and learn the history of our people so that it would never happen again.
my God, that is so deep.
Thank you.
Oh, I cannot wait. I think I'm gonna get a group of friends and family. We're gonna debut it together. Like we in
Okay.
the movie theaters. I mean, like that is so good, and the acting is so real. So, I mean, so powerful. I mean, it draws you into the
Thank,
whole storyline of it all. It's
Yeah.
so real. So
thank you.
I know we're talking about the mental conditioning and slave syndrome, and how it still affects us today. But I'd like to hear from each of you, like in the roles that you played. Like I'm pretty sure that you could relate to some of the energy and what was going on in those scenes. Like that's probably why it was so real, because you could literally feel it. You might have experienced it, or and because it's so real to us. Like how did you feel playing the role that you played? Like how did you relate to that? Anybody can answer.
Well, I would say for me, as playing Jacob, I related to Jacob in so many ways because Jacob was enlisted as a slave, but he wasn't gonna tolerate being a slave, or he didn't accept being a slave. So he was fighting against it, and if he had to get killed over it, so be it. He wanted his freedom. He didn't want to be a slave.
Right. And I can see that today, encouraging, inspiring somebody. We should be that way. We should not be the defeated people. We should be the people that's fighting, to continue to win instead of accepting the defeat. I will
Right.
never accept the defeat. I'm going to always be out in the community and wanting to do things so that there can be equal rights, and we can fight against racism and prejudice and all this. And even though it probably will never happen in my lifetime that everybody would just love each other, it would probably never happen. But just being a part of putting that inspiration out there,
Mhm.
because it will help some people's lives. It
Right.
does make a difference. So, for Alicia, what about you? Your role, you play grandmama, like, oh my God, I want to sit down at the table too. I was, looking at the dress. I said, I want to learn from grandmama too. You were so welcoming, so personable. So it's like the grandmama I never had. Like I wanted to sit down and talk to grandmama like they used to do back in the days, to find out
Oh
where we
yeah.
came from and and the wisdom of where we needed to go. So talk to me a little bit about you playing that role.
Well, that role kind of stuck with me by me coming up with my great grandmother and my grandmother and her sisters. A lot of them had to pick cotton. So we
Wow.
heard a lot of stories about having to go out in the cotton field and do those, that kind of work, and how hard it was and how hot it was. And I talked to Jonathan about a lot of that in my role. And then being from South Carolina, I've also noticed where certain restaurants you couldn't go in because they were white folk restaurants, and it really took a toll because when you're younger, it's like, why we can't go there? Why we can't go to that restaurant? And they're like, well, we're not, that's not for us. But we just go around the corner to another restaurant or something of that nature. So me playing that role and actually learning how they actually did, like make the black folk go to the back of the restaurant or whatever to get water from the water fountains in the back instead of being able to get them from the front. Those type of things like that brought back some of those memories from some of the stories that I was told. So it hit home in certain spots for me.
Exactly. And you know what? That hit homes for me what you just talked about, because I just interviewed a congressman, Dr. Akil Kalfani, who is a sociologist, and he studied Africana studies. And he told me that's what pushes him. He said, because if our ancestors had to live through that type of struggle, like why should
Right.
we give up today with what we've accomplished so far? We're not even, I mean, like we're still struggling, but we're not going through what they had to go through, and they had a fight in them where they would not give
Mhm.
up. So why would we give up
Right.
our struggle with, as far as we have come so far. That's like giving up on them and everything they
Exactly.
endured to get us to where we are today. So that is
You're
so
right.
powerful that you said that, because he mentioned that to me and I connected what you said to his statement. And we should not give up. And that's why Juneteenth, that never again, when it comes out, is going to inspire so many. So Dorian,
Yes.
I seen you pushing apart fights in there, and then we ain't gonna do this. We ain't gonna do
I
this.
was the referee.
And
And
it
her
was
and Varian were husband and wife.
yes, but it was so intense. You was like, no, we're gonna stop this. I was like, ooh, like everybody brings everybody into their character so well. So tell me what that was like for you to play that role.
That's me. I have all grown children, but I'm very, very protective of my babies. And Mrs. Peterson is very protective of her son. She will
Right,
go to war, even against her husband, to protect her baby.
right,
And that's me all day long. And then Mrs. Peterson is a praying mother, and that's what we need now. We don't have enough praying mothers,
yeah,
or somebody like a village.
mm,
Back in my day, we had a village, and
right,
it's like people don't want nobody to say nothing to their children no more. If I see a child out there, um, trying to sell drugs or whatever, even back in the day, hey, say
yeah,
something, speak up. Talk to that child. At least you know you did your part, whether they listen or not. And
absolutely.
Juneteenth mean a lot to me as well because I had my 9-pound daughter on June 19th, 1998.
Wow.
So that day I never forget. A 9-pound child.
And I
But
had my daughter June 16th, 3 days before. So we got some
okay.
in
But yeah, it was a very and I really like to always acknowledge Michael because he gave me a chance because I turned down the role a couple times
You
and because
what?
I'm thinking, well, yeah,
Wow.
because I was new to Georgia and I'm thinking I would have to drive almost 3 hours to Augusta, but I'm like
Mhm.
it's worth it. And he didn't give up on me, so Mike, I like to say thank you for that, and it's been
Right.
a lot of doors opening for me
Yes,
because
that's
of you.
excellent. That's excellent, Mike.
Yeah.
Excellent,
Oh,
Mike.
she
Yeah,
can
so I
cry.
really appreciate it.
Awesome.
And
She can cry.
the cast were, huh?
She
I'm
can
just saying.
cry. She screams. She's very dramatic.
Well,
And
we've
the
all lived
cast were
dramatic
great,
lives. Go ahead,
huh?
Dorian. I'm
Pardon?
sorry. You said the cast were great.
The cast were great. Like Felicia said, everybody got along. She made some good food. She had us full. Yes, she was the
Mhm.
caterer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Felicia, let me. I
We
got to
walking
pay a
around
visit
with
down
full.
south now for a lot of reasons.
Yes, ma'am. You come down south, you look up a little taste of heaven, and that's me.
Ooh, a little taste of heaven. I'm gonna look it up now because I'm coming
Yes,
down to
ma'am.
Atlanta to visit, soon. So I'm looking up a little taste of heaven.
Okay.
That is real good. See, and that's what I like to hear of how the chemistry was built in the cast. Because in order to play such strong roles, I'm a performer. I've been in off-Broadway plays. I'm a hip hop artist. I've been doing hip hop for years.
Okay.
I'm a rapping granny. That's what I call myself
All
because
right.
I grew up hip hop. Where hip hop was very political. We use it as an avenue and a vehicle to express our concerns about our
Hmm.
communities, about the environment, and we wanted change. And so that's the era of hip hop I'm from. And I really believe that type of performing, sometimes you have to build chemistry with each other. You have to, everybody don't have that chemistry, but you guys, from what I've seen, it was so beautifully directed by Mike Jones. I'm sure he put a lot of himself into your crying because he always said, oh, they can cry. Oh, they can cry. So I really, really, really like that because y'all all feed off each other and shine off each other. So, like, give me some moments of, like together that y'all had the funny moment or something y'all had together working together. Go ahead, Dorian.
Michael and those floppy socks. Okay. I don't know if you know what floppy socks
They're
is.
funny.
Varian plays my husband. We're sitting
Uh-huh.
on the couch. Mike tells him that. you have to take your socks off halfway your foot, right? So
Right.
I don't know if you remember how old men, they would laugh or watch TV and then the socks are just flopping up and
Yeah.
down. He was so persistent about them floppy socks.
Yes, he was.
It was like that was the scene for him, the scene
Right.
stiller. But it was so funny. We should have a lot of bloopers in there. No, Mike and
But
them
you know what?
floppy socks.
So you know what? I don't know why Farlisha keeps going off the screen, but I'm gonna bring her back on. Is she still? Oh, she's not there. She's there. Okay. Well, let me hide her for
Mhm.
right now when I see her come back. But we laugh about these things. We have fun in creating these things. But the Juneteenth and the whole situation with the mental conditioning is a very serious thing in our communities, and I'm talking about communities
Yeah.
all around the country. All around the world, even. And a lot of those roles have to shows the breaking of the mental conditioning of us as a people. Like Mike talked about the light skin and the dark skin, and you just jealous because your hair don't look like mine. Good hair, bad hair. And even now, what I don't like today with the young men and even young girls, they bully and they treat people who want to go to school and get an education. They treat them like they're punks. You a simp, you this and that, like. So even if you tried to come out of something to learn something new and to become somebody great in your life, they're gonna call you a punk. They're gonna call, oh, she goody two shoes, she too good, and want to pick on you. But this is all that from that slave syndrome, from that mental conditioning. And Mike, I want you to speak to that a little bit, because I know you could explain it better than I can.
Yeah, I mean, and it's sad that we are conditioned, and a lot of people don't even know you're conditioned. That's the problem with it, because we don't want to look back at our past, and embrace who we were. If we knew and really realized that we were king and queens,
Right.
and slavery did not begin us, we began way back when with Akhenaton, Ramses, the pharaohs, Imhotep,
Right.
Hannibal, and no, Hannibal did not eat people. We that movie made people believe that Hannibal was Hannibal Lecter. It
Right.
destroyed our past, and Hannibal was a military genius. And all the things, if we knew who we were, we can transcend and be better as a people, because
Right.
our power lies in knowing who we are. And I talk about the mental conditioning because slave owners, and we talked about Willie Lynch, the syndrome of how to take a light skinned slave, put him in a house, give him some cornbread and warm bread, and a dark skin has to work out in the field. And that
Right.
was a tool that slave owners used to condition us. The light skin went outside and basically look at the slaves and let me know who's going to run away, who's going to fight back. And you come back inside, I'll give you something to eat. So the light skinned slave has to exist, has to live, and that's how they lived. And they went in and told master what's going on. Now the dark skin hates the light skin. Light
Yeah.
skin has to deal with that. So
Hmm.
all those issues, lynching, all of the traumatic things that were done to us are still in us today. And if we can adjust and learn from the past, we can get rid of conditioning. And
Yes.
conditioning can be as simple as you can be an alcoholic. That's conditioning. You're conditioned by alcohol. You can't
Right.
just tell a person, put it down, forget about it, walk away, and
Right.
you're not alcoholic anymore. No, when you get down, when you get depressed, when something happens in your life, you're going to find that bottle again,
Yeah.
because you never had the coping skills that came with finding out why you were conditioned by the alcohol. It was something in
Yes.
your past, something you
Hmm.
dealt with that you need to understand and break that. Um,
Absolutely.
People have been molested, raped 20 years ago. You can't just say, oh, forget about it. That's old news.
Yes.
No, you need to adjust. You need to learn from it. You need
Yes.
to relieve yourself. Forgive yourself for the things that maybe you have done or maybe someone's done from you.
Yes.
And then you can transcend, because if you don't, you will allow that to fester inside you and it will kill you. And I talk about stress. Stress will kill you quicker than a bullet. And
Absolutely.
if you allow
Mhm.
stress, because I talk about stress a lot, and stress comes from being conditioned and not knowing it. Because once you're stressed over and over again, it
Right.
dumps cortisone and hormones into your body that eats away the lining of your liver. You get ulcers, high blood pressure, diabetes, overeating, for
Yes.
comfort foods. All of those things come from not understanding the foundation of how you've been conditioned.
Yes.
We on this planet, from the African diaspora, have been conditioned from slavery. Then they created the Jim Crow. Then they created the black codes. Then they
Mhm.
created redlining,
Yes.
redistricting. Then they created the fugitive slave law. All the things to replace, once slavery was ended, it didn't end. They
Right.
keep creating things to put us back in it.
Right.
And all those things further condition us. And now we have grandma saying, to a black child, you're black and you're a male, so you have two strikes against you.
Right.
That's negative. So if
Yeah.
you tell a child that he's negative because he's black and he's a male, he's going to internalize that and believe that, oh, that means I'm not as good as the white kids.
Yes.
So now his self-esteem has been brought low.
I have to give you a round of applause on that one because that's real. What we condition ourselves with some of this stuff, mental conditioning, we do it to ourselves. We got to
Mhm.
speak words of affirmation over our lives and positivity over ourselves. It says, that there's a lot of power in the tongue. As a man speaketh, so shall it be. And a
Right.
lot of things, these things we feed into, and we create that energy in our communities and in our lives because we believe it. What you believe is what you will become. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. And that's the part of the mental conditioning. I mean, I had a guy at one time that told me, oh well, you if you was back in slavery, you yellow, you a red bone, you probably would have been a house negro or whatever. I said, yeah, but did you ever ask them what was going on in that house? They might have wanted to sleep in the outhouse with y'all, having to be in there late at night with whatever was they was going through that they couldn't tell you, that was going on in that house. Because anybody of that was black, whether they was treated a little better than the other, went through some type of traumatic experience. And I don't think I would have wanted to be inside the house. I would want to been outside the house, because you don't know what's going on inside of there. So
Yeah,
it's a lot of suffering. Even that still plays today. The light skin, the dark skin thing. You see a lot of memes about it online. But we come in all shades of colors. If you look at the walls of Egypt, you see nothing but black people are painted on those walls, and they came from the beige all the way to the darker, beautiful hue of black skin that we all have as different shades of black people. So that's something that needs to definitely be instilled in people, us as a people, so we can look at each other, as equal, even within our own self, and respect each other. So that's a big
yeah,
part of us getting the respect that we deserve in the universe and in the world as well. So
yeah, yeah.
that's
And
a
you
beautiful
you
thing.
talk about and you talked about words being,
Hmm.
death and life and the power of the tongue. And
Yes.
if you look at the words that were created, black being one, and another word next to it, blackout,
Hmm.
blackball, black hole, black Christmas means you ain't get no Christmas gifts.
Hmm.
Black for a funeral, white for a wedding.
Hmm.
Those were created subliminally to make you feel that you're negative. So if you call
Absolutely.
yourself, I'm a black man, but everything I know of black is negative.
Right.
So subliminally, I'm negative also.
Yeah. Yes, there's nothing
You
good
can't get
about me
around it.
because I'm a black person. That's
Yeah.
how what that makes you feel like. you
But
know
blackout
hmm
actually means black is out of the equation. Not,
mm.
it's actually black in when all the lights are out because black
Wow.
is in. It's not a black out because black is here with you. No lights, can
Hmm.
no no flashlights or whatever. So it's black, it's dark.
Right.
So it should actually be black in and
Right.
not black
And
out.
black out, right? Wordplay. I noticed there's a lot of wordplay, especially in this country in the legal judicial system. You didn't say it that way, so you couldn't have meant it that way. It's a lot of wordplay that goes on, but I also know it's a lot of wordplay that happening because I know you post up, the trailer of the movie and been getting a lot of negative. I mean, just for posting a movie. I mean, I got involved in that because I wanted to straighten some of that mess out too. But like it's a shame that even today, just posting a movie to educate people about what took place, you didn't bother nobody but post your movie, and they jumped on there and started attacking you, calling you a racist, telling you that you were the problem because you're trying to show something that is truly a part of American history that really happened that can educate people of all color. So how are you dealing with that type of pushback?
Well, I knew I would deal with the issues because of the climate we're in now,
right?
And knowing that we're in a political season, also,
right?
I knew I would deal with that. I just didn't know I would deal with that this soon. So it came as a shock for some of the comments were real negative,
right?
Because they don't want us to know about our history, but we know about their history.
Right.
We know everything about their history. Christopher Columbus, Benjamin Franklin. It's okay about history. It's just not our history that they want to know about. So once we start talking about it, then it's like, oh, that's old news. Don't bring that up again. Is it Christopher Columbus old news?
Yeah.
He got a holiday.
Yes.
So it's about history, and I'm an educator, so I teach math. I'm so glad I don't teach history because that would be rough trying to. I mean, when I with critical race theory, it's like in critical race theory, I'm telling everyone it's not taught in elementary or middle school or high school. It's not, but they're trying to make people believe that it's taught.
Right.
It's a graduate degree study that's not even taught in elementary. You don't teach elementary school kids that, but they're trying to make it people believe that elementary school kids are being taught to hate each other. Right. That's the farthest thing from what's being taught in elementary school. But if a teacher brings up anything, you can get sued, you can get fired, and you can get eliminated from the school system because of the pressure that certain people are putting because they don't want to know. It's like, okay, slavery started, then we got Rosa Parks, and you got to ride on the back, front of the bus.
Right.
They're missing all of the
They're
history.
missing all of that. And you know what I feel like it's in contributory to, because even African American people, when you talk about Juneteenth, some of them get angry. They don't want to hear about it. Like, I'm tired of y'all, because we were a people way before the slave ship. I get it. Some people say, look past the slave ship, because we were not slaves. We were, actually great people that were put into slavery. We were not slaves from the beginning. We were bigger than that, beyond that. But at the same token, this story, people don't like to face it because either shame, on the behalf of Black people, don't want to keep showing, people that look like me that were beaten and, downtrodden and abused. And then, white people who feel guilty because they look like the people who are actually administering the abuse. So you get this guilt factor, you get this shame and guilt factor, but it doesn't take away from the nasty, ugly truth of it all. And if they would just embrace the ugly truth of it all and want to be a part of the jubilation of wanting everybody of every race and every kind to be free and have the same liberties as everybody else, then this world would be a better place. You got to accept the ugly. If you don't look at the problem, it's like an alcoholic. When you go to alcoholic, you got to admit that you're an alcoholic first. If you don't admit that this is a real thing, how can we ever resolve it if we don't admit that this is real and embrace the ugliness and then do something about it to clean it up in the mental conditioning of it all? So that's where that backlash is coming from.
Yeah, and one of the most ridiculous questions or comments I was getting is that, we sold each other into slavery anyway. I mean, for one, who wrote the history? The slaves didn't write their history books.
Right.
So that means someone else wrote the history. And then I was like, okay, were you back in that? You must be very old because in 1690 you were there to see the slaves actually sell each other. I wasn't there either, so I don't know.
Right.
But you weren't there. But for you to say, as in truth, that you know they did it, that means either you were there when it happened, you
Right.
have firsthand knowledge, or you're just basically making up something you heard from someone else.
Right. It's
And
just like that counter argument when they say black on black crime. You know, y'all only worry about when white people do it, but y'all killing each other. But it's totally different because when black people kill each other, they go to jail. There's justice done. They got innocent black people that been in jail for years. But when somebody, their counterpart, do it, there's no justice because nobody gets accountable for it. You can't even compare the two. So when people counteract it with that, to me, which is a statement just to say you don't have a problem because y'all killing each other, you know, so we should be able to kill you too. It's just an ignorant statement that goes to show every race of people have crime and things that they have done to each other, but doesn't make it right for the atrocities that take place, you know, for black people in the black community. You can't use that black on black crime. Yeah, we got that going on because we got a lot of oppression and a lot of things we need to deal with in our community for what we are up against in the mental conditioning. But that don't make it right for people to come in and say it's okay to kill us because since y'all killing each other, we should all have all free access to killing y'all too. You know, it doesn't make sense at all when people bring that up at all. So
it's and that's why now is so it's so important for us to bring this movie out.
Yes.
In 2002, when I did it, the world was different. It was, you know, of course we had Rodney King. That was basically one of the biggest things that we saw. Now, every day you turn on the TV, there's a cop shooting someone because there's a cell phone. We caught it. So over and over and over again, we got Black Lives Matter, helping us to uncover certain things. We have all the things from voting rights being taken away to all the administration, all the things they're doing to reverse the things that we got in the 60s, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and the Civil Rights Amendment, and all the things that we got. Now a lot of things are being reversed. So now is a time, we're in a Black History awakening for us to bring this movie out. We're hoping it opens up a dialogue. We need to talk to each other, not talk at each other, not talk over each other. And it's not like the person that can yell the loudest wins the argument.
Right.
No, you're yelling that we're not talking. We know, we have issues within our own community. Yeah, we know. And the movie is based on the mental conditioning of slavery and how we have conditioned each other in a lot of ways that we need to stop, and we need to open up our eyes and love one another like God wants us to. He doesn't want any race of people hating on anybody.
Right.
And what I deal with is the simplest thing in the universe. Everyone knows, from the smallest amoeba to the biggest animal on the planet Earth, is that you take care of home first.
Right.
Absolutely.
Pigs take care of pigs.
Amen.
Chickens take care of chickens. You don't see lions taking care of lambs. That's not how it works. Take care of home first, then you can go next door. Why feed your next door?
I gotta give you a round of applause on that one.
Have no shoes, no food to eat. Why take food and give it to your next door neighbor? When your house is falling down, you need to fix your house first. Then you can go next door. We have a lot of issues within our community. Let's come together. Let's understand, of course, the conditioning got us where we are, but now let's break the conditioning and let's come together, love one another first. Then we can go next door and help everyone else. We can't help no one else right now because first, we don't even know who we are.
Right.
And if you don't have a foundation of who you are, the biggest castle you build, and if your foundation is on quicksand, the higher you go, the lower you're going to sink. And if we don't know our own last name, we don't have a foundation of a culture. We used to talk about it takes a village to raise a child. and other things of Kwanzaa and Ujamaa and cooperative economics. In the 1930s, we had running numbers, which they took and created the lottery from.
Right.
We used to take care of each other in the 60s, in because it was only us.
Right.
But now it's like, oh, we don't need to look back at our history. We all got everything. Now we can get a big house. We can go next door and we can live and forget about the people that are struggling because it's their fault.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
We need to come together and love one another. And that's why this movie is so important. And I'm hoping that everyone streams it, shares it, because it's about the awakening and opening up our eyes, and the power lies in knowing who we are first, then to love ourselves.
Yes.
Once you can love yourself, then you can take care of home first. If you
Yes.
don't even love yourself, you can't take care of your kids, because you're bitter, for one, because you didn't do what you needed to do, go to school, whatever has got you bitter now at the age of 40 or 50. Now you're raising children and you're bitter and angry. You know
Right.
how those kids are going to come out if you're bitter and angry. So love yourself, and then you can love your children. Then you can raise your children up in the way that they need to be raised. Then once they're ready, now they can pass that back on to someone else.
Right.
And it's
Right.
all about taking a village to raise a child. We need
Taking
to
a
get back to
village to
that
raise a
spirit.
child. Yes, that is, we got to get back to that. And we also need to get out of the thinking of everybody is the same. You have some white people that are fighting right by us, next to us, walking,
Oh yeah.
marching, putting themselves at risk because they believe in equality as well. Just like, we don't want people to look at all black people the same that do things.
Yeah.
Like we got to open up our eyes and view things for the reality that was, because even Harriet Tubman, all the great work that she did, got freed and then risked herself by going back to free more. She had the
Yeah.
help of all kinds of people helping her with freeing the
The
slaves. She
Underground
had it
Railroad.
on
Yeah.
the Underground Railroad. She had a lot of
Yeah.
help. And we need to use our allies and our resources to continue to trudge on so that we can make a better future for our young people ahead of us, our grandchildren and our great grand. And that's why grandmamas are needed, and that's why Mike Jones, your movie, will be talked about, for time and time again. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I just want to know from you guys from here, because we getting down to the hour, like, what do you have coming? What are you doing now from today forward? What are some of the things that you're doing, and how can people get involved, and how can they reach you? I would like to, audition for one of your movies myself. I want to play one of the roles. Maybe I could be grandma's sister, coming there disturbing everything, and she got to straighten me out. Like I just love what you guys are doing. I love what you guys are doing. So tell me, a little bit about what you guys are doing, where they can find you to support you and to continue this effort on. Mike, you
Okay,
want to go
Dorian.
first? Oh, Dorian. Okay.
Um, I've done a few films, short films,
Mm-hmm.
but like I mentioned earlier, that this coming, well, the weekend of Mother's Day, May 6th, 7th, and 8th,
Right.
I'll be doing my stage play debut.
Oh, congratulations. That's great. I love that. Stage play review.
Awesome.
And it's going to
Yes.
be at the Flint
Awesome.
River Community Center in Riverdale, Georgia.
Riverdale,
So,
Georgia. I was an ambassador for Riverdale, Georgia when I lived down there. I used to go to City Hall to all the meetings, and I became one of their ambassadors. So I still feel like I am an ambassador for Riverdale, Georgia. So I want y'all to go out there and support my girl, Dorian, on her debut, to give her that inspiration to continue that great acting and what gift God has given her to do. So please come out and support her, my Riverdale sister. Next, anyone else want to share what they're going to be doing and want people to follow them or connect with you?
Varian is
Uh,
a business owner.
yeah, right now, I have a pressure washing service called a Lustrous Finish. So that's what I spend most of my time doing. Mike, I found Mike on social media. He gave me the opportunity to act. It was all new to me, and once I got in that realm, and he taught everybody, about acting and how to act, and gave us a definition on acting. It felt good, and now I want to continue and pursue after acting. And he inspired me to write a book, so I'm in the process of writing a book as well.
All right, give a round of applause. We got to hear about that book. Maybe I have to bring you on the show so we could talk about your book and give some inspiration off of that. That's wonderful,
Yes,
wonderful,
ma'am.
wonderful. Congratulations,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Okay, well,
Oh,
I
I'm
told
sorry for
everyone.
Alicia. I don't know if Alicia wanted to say something. I'm sorry.
Oh, Felicia.
Well, if you're in the area of Aiken, South Carolina, or Augusta, Georgia, you can find me at A Little Taste of Heaven. I deliver and cater. And besides that, I started out doing stage plays with Michael Warren. I've been in different scenes um, with Monopoly Street. And from then, that's where I seen Mike on social media, and he reached out and asked if I'd come in the audition, and I was like, yeah, sure, a film? I've never done a film, so that was an exciting thing to try and do. Um,
So we'll make
Besides
sure
that, I'm just a mother and a grandmother.
yeah. Well, thank you
But
very much. We're going
I
to definitely come and give you a visit for a little taste of heaven. People come out there with
thank you.
a little taste. And when I come out there, I'm going to come looking for you now for Alicia for my plate. So
Okay,
continue to do what you're doing. That's great. And we're going to turn it over to Mike because we're running down to the hour. And we want to just make sure people can find everybody if they're interested in auditioning for the movie or finding
Okay.
you so that they could be a part in what you're doing.
Okay. Well, yes. I've decided to now we're doing a movie. So the next production I'll be working on is 40 Acres Who Stole the Mule, turning that into a movie. And When God Calls, We Answer, turning that into a movie
Yes.
next. And then the other one is There's a Blessing in Your Pressing. So
Wow.
we'll be, we got 3 more movies, and I've got a couple of other projects that other people are pitching for me to also film, since I created the infrastructure for from lighting, sound, wardrobe, props, and all the things in Augusta, Georgia. I'm looking to, since I'm also a registered architect, don't practice right
Oh,
now
yeah.
because I'm doing a lot of other stuff,
Right.
and I have a real estate degree. So I'm looking to create a film studio in Augusta so we can have our own things and do our own here and film several things
Beautiful.
from movies to
Yes.
sitcoms to commercials and things like that. So that's what I'm working on. Everyone find me on social media. My personal page, Mike Jones, if you can find me there.
Right.
Because there's another guy named Mike Jones, but
Yes. A rapper, Mike Jones.
yeah,
I want to. I want to.
I can't rap
Not
though.
him.
But yeah, the group page is $1 at a time productions, and that's one as an ONE dollar at a time productions. You can go to that Facebook page, and you can see all the interviews, the trailers, and leave comments and things like that, as well as YouTube. You can go
Right.
to $1 at a time productions. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep in touch and send more information out there. The movie will be launched in about 7 more weeks. So we're
Yes.
excited that it'll be out there for the whole world. And some people have been leaving comments that, this is the next Roots or 12 Years a Slave. And I'm like, wow. I mean, it's impressive to be, even thought of to be put in
Right.
that caliber. But
Exactly.
I'm just trying to put something,
Great.
and I have some scenes that are fresh and new for today's time, that are really hitting, that I'm really excited to bring forth. We have some musicians that are writing music. We still can use some more music if you want to have a song debuted. We got some time, so email us or at blackceo99@yahoo.com. Send me an email, send me information. A lot of things we got going on. I'm just so blessed and happy that people are receptive, to what we're doing by and large. Of course, and I tell people a long time, if the devil isn't bothering you, that means you're on his side. He likes you. You're doing his work.
I like that.
He ain't bothering you. But if he's bothering you, then that means you're doing something good.
You doing something
bothering me.
He's trying to change you around.
Yes.
But if he ignores you and ain't nobody bothering you, hey, devil's patting you on the back and saying, good job. You're on my team. I'm not on his team. So that's why he's sending all his little minions to come up, and I'm happy. Hey, I'm here. So
thank you, Mike.
This is my work. I want to put some work out there that can enlighten and hopefully bring about unity, self-respect, and pride within the African American community.
Absolutely. And anybody, a round of applause for that one. And anybody who does not want to celebrate freedom and liberty and justice for all, and especially the Black community and all the suffering they've done and been through in this world and in this country, then shame on you, because this is a great time to show the humanity that you have within yourself. So I want to take this time to thank you all. It is such an honor to have you guys on this show and to talk to you about it. I'm looking forward to the movie. I'm going to be pushing this whole trailer so that everybody can join in all over the country with you guys, and what your presentation is going to educate so many. So you should feel really good about yourself and be thankful that you are part of this movement that is going to bring some enlightenment to all. So thank you all for coming on Catch the Vibe with Brown Eyes, and this is y'all on our first Catch the Vibe show. And I know we had little technical problems in the beginning, but we did this thing because God is good, and you can't stop what's meant to be. Okay, you can't stop what's meant to be. All right, you have a wonderful time.
Amen.
And I'll see you again soon. And thank you once again for joining Catch the Vibe with Brown Eyes. Okay, take care now.
Catch the vibe, let's get it, yo. Catch the vibe, let's go. Catch the vibe, let's get it, yo. Catch the vibe, let's go. Catch the vibe, let's get it, yo. Catch the vibe, let's go.